Well, guys, streaming has once again proven itself to be a much more difficult than expected thing to do. Now, I last streamed this Saturday, and on Saturday, I had, in retrospect, I'm really glad I stayed up that day. It was like 4 in the morning when I started because there were people here all day long Saturday. They literally didn't leave at all until like 6 that night, 7 that night. So just pretty much the whole day, right? And what I was planning to do for this morning was I was gonna stay up until 4 again and then, do the stream, be knocked out all morning. Uh, but around like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, I just started getting really tired. Like tired to the point where I couldn't picture myself sitting there for 2 hours and trying to, I guess, wither through the storm. So what's happening right now is one of them is here, and I'm just gonna hope that they don't interrupt the stream. Um, I'm really worried because, like I said, this place isn't formatted like my usual domain where I have a little area I can go to where if somebody wants to come in, I can like pause the thing and they're out of the frame of the camera because that's always what bothers me the most. If someone's there and they you know, get seen or because this is they're not important to this. So that's what I'm always worried about. But yeah, I tried to stream earlier. I know the 4 a.m. slot is very popular at this point, but I was just so tired. Um, and I really I've in the past tried to stream while being very tired. And evidently I was also on Saturday because I went to sleep pretty much immediately after. Like I think I was knocked out within 20 minutes of finishing that thing. So I really, I don't know how we're gonna do this. I can only hope that things go well. That they stay asleep for. I don't know. It's like I should have 2 hours, but usually they get up around because it's 10:40 something over here right now. Usually they get up around like 12 something. So maybe I'll just go for an hour and a half because I really don't want to run the risk of them, be like, oh, I want to get past here and trying to, do something that gets in the way of what we're attempting to do. So I've been looking at some of these movie channels, not even like the basic reviewer ones where somebody, sits in front of the camera and they have some jump cuts maybe and they talk about whatever film that just came out for 10 or 20 minutes. But I've been watching some of the ones where they do what I call a grift. And it's so funny because I really, in most instances, think that word is just obnoxious because we all, a lot of people that are on YouTube make stuff to get paid. But we had this discussion before about the merits of if you think a series is not good or otherwise is constantly pumping out installments that you think are subpar, not of any quality, you don't like it anymore, right? Where then does it make sense to keep spending your money to go and watch this stuff or to even be watching this stuff, period? And sure enough, the reason that they do it is because they want to make videos about it on YouTube that get thousands and thousands of views so that they can get paid. Um, so, this isn't really them like being these very outraged fans who desperately want to see things get back to the way they are. It's all part of the monetization. And sometimes when they're trying to spin the wheel and get the most clicks, they start saying some really crazy stuff. I was looking at some of their coverage for Black Panther 2, and they were saying that the movie had flopped and that it had underperformed and it needed to make 1 billion to break even. And I was just sitting thinking to myself, like I know the initial the budget that was stated for the film was like over 200 million, right? Now, I know they spend another amount of money on promoting it, but I'm sorry, I just don't believe that it has so like it's a joke to me to even suggest a movie that makes 800 million has underperformed. I find that comical. But the other part of it is I have a really hard time believing that whatever additional amount you add on top of that 250 million they spent to make it, was not retrieved from the 800 million. Like, I don't know, I just don't think the numbers are adding up. I've never really heard of a movie that needed $1 billion to break it. Like, this is the first one I've ever heard that for. And I was saying, isn't it sad that when you don't like something, because we were discussing this, it's like it's not even just them not liking the movie, it's them trying to convince you that it is it's a ratings bomb, like other people don't like it as well. And it is a commercial bomb, so people aren't even going to see it either. And I just don't see how that's true when you're talking about the what fifth, sixth highest grossing movie of the year. So that's why I said there's a lot of pennies to be made from making these videos where you take something that's come out that's new, that's popular, or that people are seeming to like, and then you talk about how there's all this behind the scenes chaos, and it's not doing as well as the studio thought it would. And they literally take this argument and slap it onto every single damn movie that is coming out. Like any superhero movie you can think of, they do this for. Um, you saw the same thing with I remember when the Batman was first announced, or rather it was during its pre-production, principal photography. You had a couple of these channels spreading rumors that Robert Pattinson, so that's the actor who plays Batman in the film, had supposedly been having an affair with whoever the lady that plays Catwoman is, and this had resulted in her getting pregnant. I was like, you know, maybe when you report stuff, try to have some actual sources that are accredited, and maybe we can have a little bit more discussion of the actual film itself instead of all this behind the scenes hoo-ha that we can't even prove. And they did the same thing with Black Panther too. I mean, they were talking about Letitia Wright and how she was acting like whatever before the movie came out. I was like, okay, that's really not good, I guess, but this still is not related to what's actually in the film. But if you listen to them, if you really listen to these guys, every single superhero movie that gets released that they don't like, um, they'll try to find some kind of behind the scenes drama, supposed drama. They'll try to tell you that it underperformed. They'll try to tell you that it's SJW. It's like it's the same playbook that they use and they've been using pretty much every 4 months, just rinse and repeat. And I remember the first time we got to this absurdity where I was like, really like, what are they talking about? Was when Doctor Strange 2 came out. And I was like, here's a movie where your main character is a man. And Scarlet Witch has already been established as being, more powerful than all of the, just one of the most powerful characters. So it's not like they made her strong just for this film. But your main protagonist is a man. In the, he is ultimately the one who saves the day. It's his film after all. And these people were saying that the movie was actually the Scarlet Witch film, guest starring Doctor Strange or featuring. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because it's been established that you can have a movie or a series where another character, like let's say, has more screen time, but they're not the main protagonist. Um, but it was just insane to me that in every regard, he's the protagonist of the film, and because they're trying to push their women are taking over everything angle, somehow the protagonist of the movie is not the actual main character because they say so. And then the other part I thought was really funny was that they were all like losing their minds over America Chavez. And I already said before, Marvel's characters they've been making since the early 2000s have all pretty much been, like down together. But then when the movie came out and they saw that the character really wasn't stealing the spotlight or, I mean, she's basically a walking, talking plot device, if you ask me. She's there for Strange to have someone to connect to and then save. Um, and it's like, it's funny how they use their perception, like their, annoyance of who the comic character is. Be like, oh, this character's gonna be awful. Then when it came out, oh, she was all right, I guess. Now, the only difference between Doctor Strange 2 and the rest of this stuff is I don't remember seeing people say it was a box office disappointment, but I'm sure if you listen and look far enough, you can find someone who was saying that. Doctor Strange 2 was a flop. I was like, it made, because remember, they're always talking about money, right? When they say that, not critical reception, because most of the stuff is well liked. I was like, it made over 900. It's actually, if I remember correctly, the second highest grossing of the Phase 4 projects. Again, I'm not. I'm just trying. I'm trying to remember what Shang-Chi made, but I just thought that was crazy that like every single time there's a new Marvel movie, except for No Way Home because they like that one. Um, they do the same stupid stuff. And what's even funnier is with the Black Panther stuff is that because the first one only came out, a couple years ago, 3, 4 years ago. A lot of these same people that were talking about how bad the second one is you can like find videos on their channel of them talking trash about the first one too. And it's like, that's why I said it's so funny when they talk about the decline of the MCU and how it's all going to dogs and, all this other, stuff, right? But if you watched them in the past, they had plenty of stuff that came out before Endgame that they were critical of. Like that's why I think it's funny. They act like they loved every single movie in the series, and then suddenly this one came out and it was just horrible. No, they had some that they thought were okay. They had some they really liked. But they weren't. That's why I said it's funny to me that like the people who are getting the most coins out of talking trash about this stuff and how bad it supposedly has become really didn't think it was that good to begin with. That would be like me making reviews of Game of Thrones, which I've never seen, but just the example. And I'm like, oh man, season one was okay. It has some episodes that are decent, but it is what it is. Some episodes I think are not that great, but it's okay. Then you get to season two. Oh man, this thing was just it had a few good episodes, but I really didn't like it. Then you get to season three. Yeah, it was pretty good. Season four. They ruined Game of Thrones. It was never bad before. It's like, but wait a second, you're the same person that said season two wasn't good. That's like a third of the series that you're, trashing. Speaking of trashing a third of the series, there's this one show that's 7 seasons long. And I met this because I mentioned this during a stream from I think about a week ago. I met this person that likes the show like right after I just turned on the episode, just because I kept hearing good things about it. And I ended up watching the whole thing. And what I thought was interesting was that the guy who liked it asked me about this one character that I didn't even bring up or anything. I was like, oh, I like them, they're okay. So after the first couple of seasons, this cast member leaves, and you bring on other people to like fill the same role. And what I thought was interesting was that when I was talking to this guy, he said that he only likes the first 3 seasons. This is like a revelation to me, right? Because when I first spoke to him, he said that he thought the show was so good or whatever. And I was like, well, I don't usually like or trying to, tell people what they can or can't like, but from my perspective, I think it's really weird to say that you like something, but then you dislike most of it. I mean, it's like, oh, I really like this show that's 7 seasons. Well, the first half of it anyway. He said that he never rewatches the later seasons because he doesn't remember that from his childhood. I was like, what? Now, of course, I didn't try to argue with him because I don't bother, but I just thought it was weird to say you like a show, but then you dislike or refuse to watch most of it. Because, for example, I always say I don't like Young Justice. I like the first season. First season was a decent series that had good focus on about 7 characters, and really felt like it was trying to build something, right? Um, when you get to season two, too many characters, too many subplots. It gets even worse in the third one. The fourth one tries to course correct, but it's like it's too. It's to me, it's just too late. Um, but you get the idea, right? That like I I don't go around saying I'm a fan of that show. I'm a fan of its first season. I always make that distinction. I say I like the first season, and that's it. I'm a fan of Young Justice. It's so good. And then you watch it, and then I'm like, oh, I only rewatched the first season. You know, one thing I've started to notice is that people have, I don't know, I guess when I don't like something or when I like something or I watch it in like a way in which I enjoy, I guess with me, usually I'll say I don't like this because of the characters, the story, etc. He doesn't remember the latter seasons from his childhood. What? I don't know, just in my opinion, that's a really weird reason to like to be fair, you don't have to give a reason for why you don't want to watch something, right? Because you can watch whatever you want. But to me, I guess because I'm so used to trying to, because you know what it is, like these people want to have dialogues about stuff, right? They want to have conversations about things. Uh, but it's hard to have a conversation about this stuff when people are speaking in these like, and I've said this before, these nebulous terms that don't mean anything. So when you have someone who says, "Oh, I like this show, but it gets wonky after the third season," it's like, what does that mean? It's really confusing, at least for me anyway, because I don't understand. Like, I guess that's some kind of non-good term, but it's not really explained. Like, it doesn't tell you. At least when people say basic stuff like, "Hey, this season had a boring villain," the main character was being a jerk to their friends, stuff like that, even if it's not well defined. Because I always try to give examples of, hey, this is why I don't like this, et cetera, et cetera. Um, at least it's still something to go off of. But their reasons for not liking the show after the first couple seasons is one of the lead actors leaves, or I guess that's like heavily implied, but they don't say it outright, but that's supposedly one of the things that turns them off. Um, they think after that it gets wonky and they don't remember it from their childhood. And it's like, when I hear stuff like that, it makes me not want to have a conversation with somebody about this stuff. Because you're just speaking in these terms that don't mean anything. Like, I remember I used to think, being a reviewer was easy. You just sit there and you talk about why you liked or disliked something. But the more time passes, it's really becoming evident that people just have a hard time for whatever reason expressing themselves. Like they can't uh, they can't like define terms and meanings and actually tell you why they like or dislike something. I really have started to come to that revelation that pretty much anytime someone, likes something or doesn't like something, they can't just say, "Hey, I don't like this because this reason." I don't. And like the characters, I thought the story was going direction. I didn't really find that because the story does change a bit. Like the premise is still the same. It's like a different setting. It's like, well, you know, I don't know. It's just I try to toe the line. Like I try to say it doesn't bother me if someone doesn't like this as much as I do, or they don't like it at all, whatever. Um, because usually ends up happening is they try to convince me to not like it and it doesn't work and they get mad. But the bigger issue I have here is that these people want to have conversations about this stuff, but they don't actually say anything that's worth listening to about entertainment. I mean, what would I look like if people are having a discussion on the DCEU and I say, "Oh, I stopped watching those after was it like 9, 10 movies? I stopped watching after um Aquaman." And that's not where my I remember from my young adulthood. It's like, like what does that even mean? The movies after that get wonky. Like who how am I defining what the actual problem with this stuff is, according to me anyway? Like where does who has benefited from hearing that? And that's why I said I don't have a problem with having a conversation where people disagree, but damn it, have a conversation that people can understand. Say things that are not just vague terms, like define things. So I said people need to be able to just talk like normal adults, like say things that have a defined meaning, do things, like I don't know, it's just I don't understand why we can't have civilized discussions about entertainment. And not even just like people being rude to each other, but just like saying things that you can understand that like actually make sense. Taking the time to actually like tell someone, hey, I don't particularly enjoy this because of this reason, that reason. Not abstract crap like wonky in your childhood. Like, what the hell does your childhood have to do with a show being good or not? Because I've had plenty of things that I first saw when I was a kid. Um, and I go back and rewatch it. I like it. The fact that I saw it as a child doesn't really factor into whether I still enjoy watching it or not. Because you have some people talk about nostalgia, but I don't think that's true at all. Because there was stuff that I can point to that I liked as a kid that I don't think this is good anymore. Um, so I don't know. I feel like we have this thing where we because everyone has some perspective that's biased, right? There it could be for what but it seems like we have this thing where we try to convince ourselves that if we just look at it in this objective way, but you're never going to be able to do that. So I don't really let stuff about childhood and youth get into the mix of whether I like something or don't like something, which is why it's so weird to see that person say that. And what it is that they're just riding the nostalgia train. Swear this stuff gets weirder and weirder. Mm. I don't know. It just seems like it's becoming increasingly difficult. That's why I said that. I think in my case, I'd be better off just not trying to have conversations with people, at least in text about like movies or shows. Because I got hit with a connection is unstable message, so I'm sure the stream will be very buggy and glitchy, and it's because I found out what the reason for that is because the router is not here. I don't know where it is, so it's probably because of its how far it. I'm really getting sick of routers because last year when I had the worst week, or like a wasted week, whatever that was called, where it's like the internet just wasn't in my room for some reason over at the my main place of residence. Um, I noticed that it was the same thing. Like the router was acting up or whatever. It's like, why does it keep doing that? Yeah, that was a pretty miserable week. But that was kind of like a specific. Really, I'm sick of Wi-Fi, computers, and all the rest of it. Because even when I was trying to show them, these laptops, they're like, "Oh, make sure that you put down," and 'cause some people stretch them out. It's like, because we had this job discussion before, but I'm telling you, a lot of these employers, it's like they have some internal memo where they're like, "Okay, we have this person working for us for 8 hours today. We have to make sure that at every minute of the day they're doing something." So nothing to do. Like if you finish all of your work, let's say you have like a whole hour that you so that they're gonna be like, sweep the floor, clean the hedges, like it's that's why I said one thing. The one thing I was envious about is you don't have some, boss like breathing down your neck and telling you to keep doing this or that when you don't have anything left to do. Mm. Even after I went to sleep, I'm still tired. That's because like there's some stuff I want to do that I'll stay up till like 2 or 3, and then I'll try to active, I guess. Like it's halfway to 6 and halfway to 12, but it still is considered like early to some extent. But like I said, most of the time I don't know, I'm just kind of fatigued with this stuff. Like I'm really tired of having these people where you try to have a conversation with them and they get mad at you or whatever. Like I literally got cursed out by the same person who you know, I wrote like I made, a joke or whatever about them liking some character they didn't like. And I was like, I don't have the tolerance to really put up with that stuff. And the person did apologize after that, but I've been speaking to them less and less. So yeah, I just try to avoid even bothering with them in that regard. It is kind of funny how after all these years of movies, we're finally getting multiverse stuff because in the comics you've had the multiverse since I don't even know how long, just for decades, right? That would be kind of interesting to like really pinpoint when the multiverse became a regular thing for Marvel. Um, because you could argue that Age of Apocalypse, stuff with Cable coming back to the, and Bishop, right, coming to the present, they could be argued as part of, but I don't really know what solution I can use unless I just stream from my phone, which will be even harder because then you have to find something to balance it on, and then, oh god. And they don't have a button where you can mute yourself. So I'll probably I don't know. It's just really annoying streaming over here. Between the unstable connection, even when it has 3 bars, it's unstable, and, the worrying about somebody, like, coming out and trying to grab something that's on the stream. So I've now seen that message 3 times. I guess what happens is it has a day where it works good and another day where it just starts doing its trashy thing. No, the internet over here is just it's really bad. Even when you have 3 bars, it does that because it has 3 right now, and it's still doing that. It's done that 3 times in the last, like, 10 minutes. It did about 5 times, last, what was that, Thursday? Yeah, they make it really hard to do stuff on here. I'm glad the Saturday one worked well, but that gave me a false sense of confidence. I was like, "Oh, great. So now, um, anytime it has the 3 bars, we should be good to go," and then it still is acting up. I'm not paying for internet. So, oh, and I like the actual room I was gonna use, I can't even go on the internet in there with this computer. Like it just won't even work. You like you can take one step in there and all of a sudden your 3 bars get reduced to 1 and it starts buffering. Oh my god. So I don't even know what's gonna happen. That's why I said technology is not my friend. There's been too many awful occurrences. So I always had the fantasy of my own place, right? But the main draw of that is that when you do a stream, you don't have to worry about, oh, is this person coming? I gotta pause the thing, turn the thing off. You can just kind of do what you want, don't have to worry about is someone gonna say something or whatever. I said, damn, that's how you know you don't even have like really big goals when you just are excited at the prospect of being able to do a stream without interruption. So yeah, I really am not looking forward to having to stay up till like 4 in the morning to do one of these without, you know, somebody coming in here. Like I said, it's hard to do a lot of basic stuff, and I've come to realize that because I saw how many years it took for that job thing to start reversing itself. And I remember sitting there and I was just thinking to myself, you have all of these employers, right? All across this damn state, largest one in the US. And you can apply to 10, 20, 30 different places and hear nothing back. And that was the belief I adopted right before the virus stuff started happening, with I'm talking about the virus. And you started seeing a little bit more leniency, but at that point it was becoming even more of a pain to be with these places because they wanted you to wear this mask, right? While performing activities that are sweat inducing, which means it's going to be harder for you to breathe in it. And also for me, it would fog up my glasses. So I was like, wow, it's so funny how if the virus hadn't happened, if it had been like, let's say you got hired here like 2018 or 19, right? Um, you wouldn't even had to have worried about the mask. Like the mask was just an additional pain in the you know what that was added on because of disease. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like one more thing to annoy me. And having to wear that thing all day. I even did a video about it. I said that it's really uncomfortable. And what was weird is that they had these the place I worked last year, they had these glasses. So like a retailer where you go to the cashier and they have like a glass in front of you, like between you and the person that is the customer. I was like, why put up these glasses, but then have it to where we still have to wear the mask? So even you're basically saying the glasses don't actually mean anything. They're just there to, look as if they're being effective when they're not. Yeah, it's a really strange set of events, I'll tell you that. Like I said, I'm just fatigued with these places. The one I was with this past month, they closed down for the last few weeks because of the holiday. And my recruiter was like, "Wait a second, if you know you're going to come back in January or next month, whatever, why would you? What happens then? Why would you not keep this person on?" That's why I said I've realized no matter how good of a job you do, because they'll sit there and they'll compliment you till they're blue in the face. You just can't expect these people to actually want to retain you or keep you on. Um, like if someone just doesn't want to hire you, they will find any reason to not do it. These employers out here are just, I don't know what's wrong with them. We already talked about hire to fire. I don't know. I just got to a point where I'm just cynical about the whole thing. But even then, it's like I go somewhere. I try to do the best job that I can. I make a sincere effort, and if they're not willing to appreciate that, then I don't have time for it. Um, and I have noticed that in recent times, I have become more open to making jokes about, oh yeah, I'll be at this place for like a week, and then they'll find something to complain about. "Oh yeah, I'll be at this place for like 2 weeks or a month," and then they'll give me my pink slip. Because really, at this point, I do consider a lot of these jobs to kind of be a joke. And when I say that, I don't mean like go up there and you purposely try to not do what they tell you to do, get fired. Whatever. I'm talking about this from the standpoint of I used to believe that if you kept applying, kept trying out these different places, you there would be somewhere where you would get very comfortable with the work that you do. You'd gradually get better with it, actually want to stay there because you feel comfortable with your position and the schedule and like the whole 9 yards, right? But what started to happen was as time went on, I just couldn't. It's kind of like I don't want to bring the chick stuff up here, but it's like the same fantasy of you meet this woman and you're gonna fall in love with her and develop a connection, enjoy spending time together, and then reality sets in when you see how you can't even get most of these pricks to do a phone call. It was the same thing with the job. It was like, okay, so if they're not going to actually keep you on for more than a couple of weeks or a month, then there really is no point in even imagining. Because again, if I'm with something long enough, I feel as if it starts to set in like, hey, you go to this place, you do this, you do that. But the little like details, right? Like, for example, when I was at the place where I was there for a week before the stupid manager said I didn't have the speed, she was whatever that garbage was. I had like two coworkers that asked me my name and were asking me like questions about myself or whatever. And the whole time they were doing this, I was just thinking in the back of my head, I don't care because I know that I can be gotten rid of at any point, in an extremely quick amount of time. So trying to build whether it be working relationship, friendship with any of these people is a complete waste of time. And sure enough, after 1 week, that's what happened. So what I'm saying is it's not incumbent upon me to ever forget the fact that a lot of the attempts at people pretending they're interested in speaking to you and wanting to get like it's all just window dressing. It doesn't mean anything. It's the equivalent of when you go into some, let's say, meeting or you walk past some people that you work with and you say hello and how are you. They don't actually care how you're doing. It's just something they say to make themselves look pleasant. This image of ourselves we like to present to other people, and a lot of us like to think we're nicer than we actually are. Um, but I mean, you saw what happened with that one crazy thing that where you speak to somebody, you feel like you had a good dialogue with them. You ask them a very basic question, "Hey, what are your hobbies?" And then they respond to that by not responding to your question and telling you that they're traveling around the world with their boyfriend, and you're like, man, all we wanted to do was just speak. Like there was no romance involved. Because I said before, I'm not stupid enough to send somebody a romantic message in that medium. Like that would be very dumb. But it was funny to me that they would even, like that you made a genuine effort to try and get to know this person, try getting to know this person, and they pretty much just blew you off. That's why I said, man, relationships to me are just such a joke. Like they mean nothing. It's just like when people kept saying "I love you" and all the rest of it, and then every time a person says that, it's someone who never calls you, um, never makes any attempt to speak to you outside of when you're like around them in some situation capacity. Um, Again, like basically does nothing for you in any like at all, even stuff that would cost them nothing. Like I think it's funny that one of them I said, "Hey, when's the last time you asked me if I was hungry?" And they said that I was that them not asking me if I was hungry and like being upset over what I wore, I had nothing to do with each other. And I was like, yeah, one is essential, one is not. That's why I said I'll be very happy when this whole thing just wraps itself up. I don't know. There's been a lot of trouble with these employers and their weird ways. Like I really have just lost all confidence in them as like as a group of people doing something that's helpful to me because you see it constantly that they're just not resolved to keeping somebody on, even people that they speak highly of. And that's why I said that, you know, a lot of these places get off on the power fantasy of like I can get rid of you anytime I want, and they try to make you feel comfortable by complimenting you. Oh, you're doing such a good job. You learn to do this fast. You're doing this correctly. But it doesn't matter. I mean, I even told my recruiter this: the one thing an employer loves more than a good employee is to see a good employee fall, die trying. It's exactly what that's what I mean. Like when I heard that the because we discussed this before. Um, when I heard that other place had still not found somebody after a month of me not being there anymore, I was happy because it sort of is like a poking a hole in the fantasy that you get rid of this person and then you're suddenly going to find this magical, great, amazing individual when a lot of times they can't even get someone to show up. Wishing you a happy new year if possible. No, there's nothing happy and there's nothing new. It's the same old trash. Stupid employers, stupid chicks, stupid videos. All of it is return. It's the same stuff. Just slap a different number at the end of it. Stupid Wi-Fi. Internet keeps acting up. So there's nothing happy and there's nothing new. The only new thing from last year was getting hired somewhere. Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. Like what can I do this year that I couldn't do last year on account of my age? So I said there is nothing new. All you did was take last year, stick a new number at the end of it, and you get the same old crap. I even did a whole stream. It was called "Tired of Remakes," where I was just giving examples of how, like, all like when you really think about it, all the new events, like getting hired somewhere or talking to some woman who does, whatever. If you really think about it, it's the same thing, just with a little bit of variance. Like it's there. It's not even it's only new because it's a new person doing it, but it's basically a remake. So I even gave the example of how I worked at this place in May of last year. Excuse me, May of 2021 for a month. It was like April, May, whatever. And they only had me on for like 9 days. And, after like a week or 2 weeks, the manager was threatening to get rid of me, et cetera, et cetera. Then I worked this other place in February of last year. And while the manager wasn't the one who was trying to get rid of me, I was like threatened to be gotten rid of within a few weeks because of some stupid thing on the website. Um, and they tell you right that you could if you don't improve by next time, they're gonna get rid of you. Then you seemingly improve by next time, just get fired a few days later anyway. So you see how even though it was me working at a new place with a new manager, you still got the same old result anyway. So I said, dude, there's nothing new. It's just a bunch of remakes. No, just like all that woman stuff, we got to a point where it's like, "Oh, this one did this, reminds me of that other one." Dude, I even had this one crazy broad, I wasn't even trying to do anything romantic with her. We spoke a few times at my, job, and I, like, asked her for a way to contact her outside because like, how when you are working, you don't really have time to just speak to somebody continuously? She gave me her, her email, which, whatever, I was fine with. I sent her a message where I ask her what her hobbies are, just like again, as a way of starting to get to know this person. Instead of answering that very basic question, she sends me some weird thing about her and her boyfriend are traveling around the world. And I was just thinking to myself, wow, a woman who I was not interested in romantically mistook me for being interested in her romantically and then brought up some guy, I guess, as a way of dissuading me from speaking to her. Never seen that before. Dude, they must think I'm really stupid. It's like she really believed I was just sitting in my bunker and I was like, "Mwahaha, I will ask her questions about her background and what she likes as part of my scheme to get her to go on a date." Swear they are so delusional. It's not even funny. Like some of them really believe every single man that speaks to them. You could ask one of these bastards for a cup of coffee. It's like they think you're trying to be their boyfriend. It's so weird. Like the ego on some of these chicks. And it's like, at least if you're talking about some famous woman, um, at least they can say, hey, I have all these millions of followers. I have men constantly send me messages. But like basic chicks who are not hot, not I wouldn't call them unattractive, but I mean, they're, it's like attractive women, are a dime a dozen. You can like, it's not really a high bar to pass. If you just speak to one of them and you make a joke or you talk to them maybe like with a smile or with a like pleasant disposition, especially if it's more than once, they will think you want them. I wonder if the dating sites are better than the apps and where you just swipe off, where you just swipe, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, there's no difference because it's a bunch of people who, like we talked about this before. Um, People do this thing with chicks where they try to act like they have this moral high ground over men. So they're like, we care about personality and what you can do for us emotionally. But what on one of those apps or one of those dating sites. A bunch of people look at the picture of somebody else. They decide they think this person is pretty or hot or whatever, and they message that person again, not because they like their personality, because that's all BS, but over physical attraction. Um, which is why I said, don't let them convince you that they're all these darling innocent nuns who are interested in meeting some. Because, like I said, I can name plenty of chicks where you sit there and you talk to that bastard for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and you get nowhere with them. And it's not because you're boring, because otherwise they wouldn't speak to you for that damn long. And a lot of times, ironically enough, it's me that cuts them off because I just get sick of it. But rather because they don't think you're physically attractive. And if you're not physically attractive to them, then pretty much nothing you do on a personality level will matter. Um, that's why I said the friend zone is literally a woman saying you're not good enough to be the main guy, but you can be this like side piece. You basically it's kind of like the main guy is the king and you're the court jester. You're the one that you know is there to just be the comic relief entertainment. All all based on picks either way. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You don't care about no personality. Dude, I tried to care about personality and I got turned down for my appearance. When I had that one chick that liked the same type of stuff I did, and I was so surprised by her liking it. And I was like, hey, so you know, I'm open to do whatever you want. And then she was like, "Oh, there are other people." I was like, "Are you serious? Really?" Dude, they look at one little image. You could have some chick with her note with her like tongue sticking out from the side to be like, "Oh man, she looks good. I'm gonna send her a DM." That's why I said I stopped using dating sites. I don't even remember how long it's been. 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Just a complete waste of time. Some of the chicks on there, and we had proof of this because we did the like women's many many options video, which they like to pretend that one didn't get made, but it did. Where I showed all the screenshots. Like I showed the one woman where they didn't even see what she looked like, and she had it was on Reddit. She had 50 men DMing her after getting her number or trying to message her, and I was like, how in the hell? Because they always talk about attractiveness, right? But I said before, men are so like desperate because they get nothing from chicks just on average that even just hearing that someone is female gets a whole bunch of them to I don't know, I thought that was crazy. It was like, I can't believe it. Also, if you try bars, you'll probably just be picking up, yeah, but at least you pay for you know what you're paying for. Well, I said before, at least with them, they tell you, what you're gonna get. And if you pay them a certain price, they will do what you want. I'd rather take one of them back and get what I want done immediately than have to sit here and talk to somebody for 8 months or 2 years. Man. And then remember, even if you speak to one of them for a long time, remember you're not owed anything, so you're still not going to even. There still is no guarantee. Well, the problem is you're not if you're a man, you're not really in a position to even be dignified. I mean, you have to go out and ask out a whole bunch of chicks who completely get to ignore your wants and desires and not ask you out because it's expected supposedly of men to be the ones that initiate things. Then if they turn you down over and over, you're supposed to just keep trucking on and keep trying as you get told by other men that you're the reason it keeps happening. So even if you even if you try, you still get rewarded with being talked trash about if it doesn't work out. So it's like, what dignity? All you all. That's why I said the whole woman thing is literally talking to a bunch of chicks who deny you what you want and getting harassed by other men over your perceived failure or inability to get like none of this is helpful or productive or benefiting of men. So that's why I said it. I don't bother with it because there's no benefit. A lot of the people that tell you, "Oh, if you just do this, if you just do that," they're trying to promise you something that they can't. You can't promise someone else a partner. When they will realize that, the world may never know. Well, it's not like these women care about how men feel anyway. Men should return the favor to them. Well, hey, I don't bother with them. Told you I've been on a dating website in 6 years, if not longer. I think it was like, yeah, because I now I remember when I became legal, I went on those sites, and then after that year, I was like, man, this is a waste of time, and I just deleted all of them. I didn't go on eHarmony. I was like, I'm not paying to talk to an idiot with chess melons. You can talk to them for free at the mall. You get the same result anyway. Dude, that's where on the internet they turn regular men into like anime characters where they're like analyzing my personality and they're like, I think his this person was not there for him and he feels it's like what? Like if Euro ever made it known how he feels about chicks, he'll have like a whole section of guys do like writing paragraphs dissecting his personality and making up like backstories. Never been on a dating site. I do socialize everyone regardless of gender. Women who think the worst of men have made it very clear not to give them the time of day. I can tell by your glasses that you're yeah, yeah, they're always analyzing like what stuff you have on and what's your background. And not even just like your background is in your past, but like what's behind. I'm told the cabinet really brings out my eyes. They are so weird. I mean, I only speak to chicks if I have some kind of like project or other work related thing. Because to me, it seems like if there's a specific reason behind speaking to them, they're more organized and less likely to be, incompetent. But as far as like trying to have a friendship with them, forget it. Like I can't because every time you try to do that with one of them, they either just abruptly stop speaking, which is really annoying, or they try to accuse you of trying to be their boyfriend. So I just said forget it. See, outside of projects and work related stuff, I don't even bother with them because there's nothing good that comes out of me speak. And I've said that before. There is nothing of any benefit that comes from me talking to them in general. Too many lies and too many accusations have been thrown my way. I don't really find it rewarding to talk to a group of people who think that every person that speaks to them of the opposite gender has this like die hard shadow campaign to become their date. Like get over yourself. I guess I'm lucky. Lost all sorts of friends because of all sorts of random reasons they come and go. Well, people are just flaky. They don't try to actually keep dialogues going. I had this one woman I used to talk to on Reddit, and I started speaking to her on Skype, and we had decent calls, had some stuff in common, whatever. All of a sudden, I never hear from her again because, or excuse me, I don't hear from her for like a whole year, and then she reappears. I'm like, hey, why haven't I heard from you in God knows how many months? Oh, I logged out of my account and I couldn't be bothered to log back in. So because she was too stupid to log into her account, our communication ended. But yeah, after that, I decided I'm not gonna even try anything with them because I don't know, it just seems like it's always women that do weird stuff. Like when it comes to just because I already said before, there's like weird guys on the computer that write stuff, but like when it comes to the ones I try to actually have a one-on-one, dialogue communication with, it's always chicks that are just doing something bizarre. You know what I mean? Like I gave the example of the one that blocked me on Christmas after knowing me for less than 1 day. And I even like read the messages and how like that was only surprising because there was nothing antagonistic, there was nothing rude or any variety. And I was like, that's really nuts. Um, so yeah, that's like I said, they're the only ones that do that crazy stuff when I talk to them, and that's why I said they're going to play a very limited role from here on out. If I'm not with doing something with one of them with regard to work or a show, then they can go. Oh, finally, Akatsuki merchant showed up. I've been waiting for him for an hour. I was gonna stream that at that same time, but it was I was worried that like I was gonna fall asleep during it because I was so tired. But we did get like 4 or 5 interruptions. We got the 3 interruptions from the internet not working or being unstable, whatever. Even though this is supposedly the room where it's good in, and then we also got the 1 interruption from someone trying to come out. So pretty much, there's nothing you can do. Learned if I don't receive what I desire to be reciprocated, I've had to the wherewithal to leave those people. Yeah, they get mad when I walk away from 'em. I've already said before that like most of these people are really expendable. They don't even bother calling you. In most cases, all they do is run their mouths. You don't need them. Just like when I was talking to Triple L, that there's a broad I spoke to for almost a year. I said, um, to even see you in person, I had to put my foot down and say this can't go forward if we just only speak on the phone. And despite you saying that you apparently liked meeting me in person, you still never tried to have a sequel or continuation of that. Um, and I also mentioned like her going to another state and then not saying anything to me for a month, even though I didn't do anything to her. And she's like, I was in this house with these people that like to ear hustle on my phone calls when any normal person can just go outside, walk down the street. That's what I do when I don't want my call to be heard by other people. It's so important. Um, so I was pretty much disgusted with that person. I said, give me a break. They always try to convince you they're the bit like that's another running gag I've noticed from chicks. They act like they're the busiest person in the world. You try to have a phone call with one of them once a week, they can't do it. Once a month, they can't do it. Like, and you'll be sitting there just thinking to yourself, what the hell are they doing? Jesus. I never would have guessed 5 or 6 years ago that having a phone call with somebody would be like this really hard, extremely, yeah, talking to 60 guys. She's talking to the whole damn neighborhood. Never would have guessed back when this first started that it would be so difficult to have a phone call that like that would be this extremely hard, impossible thing to get one of them to do. Like out of all of this stuff, that's why I said you can forget about going on a date. You can't even like forget about meeting one of them in person. You can't even get them to meet you on the end of their damn device that they carry with them all day. Dude, I could really picture them having like messages with all these different numbers. They're like, hi, hello, hi, hello, hi. They just say greeting all of them. Just, oh my God. Folks who find you expendable are going to find reasons to why they were absent to get used to it eventually. Better they disappear than trying to figure out why they went ghost. Well, I don't spend much time trying to analyze them. I just say whatever. A customer merchant says, I just don't talk to women anymore. So when they ask if I'm single, I just say, yeah, and I'm going to stay that way. One girl, though, said it was bad for my health not to talk to girls. I mean, if you really want to, we can do a whole video showing all the men that would still be alive if they didn't talk to girls. Like, what the hell? Like I said, there are some chicks that have lived that have lived, and a few that are alive today. Where if you get with one of them, they're actually helpful. They are accommodating of you. They actually want to be with you. Um, but they are far few and in between, and you could even argue that they don't exist anymore. Most of them are sitting on these dating websites, acting like they're interested in someone for their personality when all they care about is, what they look like. And if they're not wasting your time, they're being used as fodder for other men to attack you over. So there's just nothing good that comes out of them, and it's really not hard to see that. Dude, I'm just, like, that's a hilarious line that it's bad for your health not to talk to them. Because I told the story about the woman that lied about me to her boyfriend saying I was following her because he saw me speaking to her. It's like that was extremely dangerous. He could have pulled out any type of weapon in response to her saying that, and then I would have been injured or deceased because of a lie a woman told, which is not the first time that's happened to a man. I mean, look at what's the guy from the was it the Steve Harvey show? Marlon Santana, I think was his name. That where some girl tried to accuse him of touching her inappropriately, and she got her boys to go and kill him. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of men that would either still be alive or would have lived a hell of a lot longer if it wasn't for some woman. Bad for your health. That's a trap. She wants guys or fall for the bait. To fall for the bait. Well, it's not working. It might work on Eurodollar, but they're not getting my dollar. No, they are a very awful group of people. I mean that very sincerely. They do a lot of nasty stuff. Um, and like I said, I'm no men's rights activist. Like I said there's a whole bunch of creepy guys online too, or weird men, but it's just funny that they like chicks really speak about each other and get spoken of by other men like they're superior or that they're like these darling angels, and they're not. They're literally just the same as you and I, except they have a triangle and two things sticking off their chest, and that's pretty much it. So because of this very minor physical difference, they get propped up as these gods among men who were supposed to do all this ridiculous crap to impress when most of them are not worth it. Like I said, there are chicks that are actually accomplished in this world, but they are few and far between. And the problem is now all the random ones you've never heard of get propped up like they're famous as well, just because they have thousands of followers on some stupid website that means nothing, uh, or because a bunch of like guys message. Think how crazy it is that like someone's value is derived entirely from some kind of like physical thing. Like, oh, this person is pretty. Like, really never seen that before. That's why I said this woman stuff has is just going too far. Like the way people talk about them scares me sometimes. Just like just how they completely. You have people who really believe you should have to do all this crazy crap just to the woman. But this one's different. This one is the same as the last one with the new coat of paint. Maybe she's slightly taller. Maybe she's from a different state. It's the same old stuff. It's the same old red herring, months long speaking waste of space that it was last year and the year before that. I'm telling you, it's so sad that they act like that. It really is. It's like, hey, let's sit here and get caught up in weird stuff and attack somebody over their appearance, while we say that we shouldn't speak negatively about the way women look, but if you're a man, it's okay for people to do that to you. If you attack a woman over what she wears, it's called, what is it, slut shaming? But if you talk about what a man wears, it's totally fine. You gotta love those double standards, huh? That's kind of scary to me. How I remember this one guy was like, "Oh, your stuff, your content's repetitive." It's like, yeah, real life is repetitive. Like, you go to any of these news channels, what are they talking about? Oh, someone voted this way. Oh, someone did a violent act. Like, we've seen it before. I'm not even joking. If you really like, just one day, just sit back and think about things that happened last year and ask yourself how much of that was actually new. Like like it's never been done before. It was this new ground, you know? Jesus Christ. Well, now I know this guy is a complete and total buffoon. A Akatsuki merchant, imagine thinking, like, imagine having your time wasted by chicks from all over the planet, including ones from other countries, and then thinking that if you travel over there, there's gonna be this magic new result. Yeah, goodbye. You are not welcome here. You read some really goofy stuff, and you just don't want to listen. And look, it's cool if you want to sit there and get caught up in your BS, but don't try to act like you have, what is it, selective hearing. Like, oh, I'm going to completely ignore the part where he talked about chicks that are from other countries that do the same stupid stuff as American ones, so I can keep peddling my BS about traveling around the world. And even a guy like that's dangerous too, because he, think about this, he wants you to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on the premise that you're going to meet some woman in some foreign region, and you don't know what the hell's over there. They could have all kind of violent people. But you're supposed to go to some part of the world that you've probably never been to before, and then and however much it costs to go over there, he doesn't care, because he doesn't care about you as a person, right? You don't matter. Just peddling his BS, the only thing he's concerned about. So when you go over there after spending a whole bunch of money and you don't get this magic, amazing woman that he's describing, then what? So I said, like, again, if there's one thing to take away from this stream, it is that these people that come on here to give this advice and these suggestions that nobody asked for, they don't care about you. They want to see you fail. They want to see you destroyed, and they're advocating for your death. Because why else would you tell a man that because of his gender, it is impossible for him, it is only possible for him to meet a woman, and then if he doesn't meet one of them over there, you're just going to tell him to go to another country and just keep destroying his resources as part of his desire to get with some amazing form, as part of your myth that you're trying to peddle to him. First, the girl asked me if I've ever had a girlfriend, and then went on to lecture about how I need to do inner work and find why I refuse. Yeah, she needs to do inner work of just leaving you alone. There always has to be an unsolicited ultimatum when men address their problems. But what drives me nuts to this guy is, I don't have a problem with people, like, if you want to go do your own foreign self destruction crap, whatever, you can destroy yourself. But I sat here with this prick not even 3 weeks ago, and I said, I do not care about foreign women. They are just as bad as the ones that live in the same country as me. I have had multiple instances where I've spoken to them, and it has been just as fruitless as out here. And he completely ignores this so he can keep peddling this stupid passport, fantasy football, fantasy woman crap. Like, get out of here. I call them passport pricks because when you want to look, if you want to destroy yourself, that's totally fine. But don't come around me talking about, oh, hello, person that criticizes women and says that the ones in the U.S. are just as bad as the ones anywhere else. Have you thought about traveling to foreign regions? The only way you could get me to listen to one of those douchebags is if they fundraise for me to go and travel all these different places, because then it wouldn't be costing me anything to go on this magical uh been around the world adventure. But as far as them talking and trying to get me to spend out of pocket to travel around, man, go somewhere with that. It's always a problem inside instead of just someone simply expressing being unsuccessful. Yeah, because they have these insta fixes. Oh, you lack confidence. You're too ugly. This same old stuff. That's what I meant by men are expected to have godlike mental fortitude and deal with constant rejection that leads nowhere. Yeah, this stuff has an effect on you. It's like at a certain point when the stuff just keeps piling up over, you get sick of it. And that's a human reaction. Like when I was doing my applications, and I would keep applying to hear nothing. I got sick of it. It's like this is stupid. So I said you can't like living in a society where people only care about one gender, again with a few exceptions of like famous men. Those like the only ones that people have a little bit of interest in actually trying to do anything for. You have these people who completely ignore the mental health of men, the things that bother them, even though we're more likely to kill ourselves than a woman is. That's a fact. But one of the reasons for that is because we don't actually have anyone who's attentive to our mental health. And usually, when it's brought up in conversations such as this, it's meant to ridicule or demonize the person who is expressing some desire to see it actually addressed. So yeah, welcome to the feminist society where if you don't have a triangle, you might as well be dead. Dude, I just think it's so weird that he came back and was like, "I'm gonna keep peddling this and let's see how it goes." Like, no, no, thank you. I encourage him if he's so confident about his passport fad. How about he make a channel where he gets in front of a camera and he tells us about how we're all going to be attracting these magic women when we go to these foreign countries. He's going to bring about the fall of male loneliness if we just listen to his wise ramblings. Depending on how you look at it, whether good or bad, all men have his stoicism to rely on as a way to truck on. Yeah, but that's a problem for me because I don't think it should you should have to pay for counseling or whatever other because I don't like talking to strangers about stuff that actually bothers me. But you shouldn't. There's something wrong with taking half of the U.S. population, or even just men in general, and be like, okay, well, we don't care how things affect you. We don't care if you're bothered by something. We don't care what your dreams or desires are, because we're talking about basic stuff like working somewhere, getting a date. I mean, it's not like you want to win the Grand Olympics, and people don't care. They say, hey, too bad if you want a job so you can survive, and they're not hiring you. We don't care. Remember that same place I was with for a week. I was only able to get another position by the end of the following week, thanks to my agency. That fat blob that saw me out. They didn't. She didn't care if I was you know gotten if I didn't have anywhere to live or to support myself. So I don't. That's why I don't care about them. I'm glad that they haven't found anybody in a week. I mean, in a month rather. And like I said, I usually don't talk about physical appearance, but that really pissed me off because I had to going to sleep at 10 at night at 5 in the morning is not exactly a thing I find very appealing, but I still did it uh, because that was my job. And it's all the more frustrating when you think about how what you were willing to do, and this is how you were repaid by being thrown in the trash after less than 2 weeks or after 1 week. So I feel like if people are able to say all kind of nasty stuff about me online, so able to say whatever I want about them as well. I feel like that's only fair. Although I forgot the internet doesn't really like fairness. It's always drenching itself in inequality. Oh man, I was really hoping that we could have had a little bit more of a. I don't know. I just part of me regrets not doing it this morning, but I couldn't. I was so tired, and I usually don't want to stream if I'm really out of it because it's harder to concentrate. Like it was maybe 10 in the morning. I still hadn't slept by that point, and I was. You ever believe once that thing was over, I just went and laid down and passed out. I was so tired. But seriously, anytime you have some guy who is telling you to travel around the world to meet women or to go to this place, um, because like we were talking about Vegas and the what's over there, right? But I'm not telling you if you go over there, you're gonna meet this magic woman and it's totally worth it, man. If you just travel to this part of the I don't do that. They're trying to sell you a fairy tale of going to this foreign region where there's going to be this magic woman who's so intoxicated and mesmerized by it's like, dude, we have spoken to chicks from Trinidad, from Australia, from the UK, from Canada. It doesn't matter. From Japan. What's the other country? God, it's been so many of them. You get the point that like, why even keep indulging in this fantasy? Like, why? And again, the issue here is not that they want to do it because I couldn't care less if they traveled to another country or to hell itself or off the damn hemisphere altogether. They just went to Mars or Neptune trying to find a woman. It doesn't bother me, but what does bother me is that they have to come here and try to peddle it and try to convince you of it when you know it's garbage. You know it's BS. You know it's a bunch of idiots doing the same insta fix nonsense that you've seen repeated year after year. Like if it's not oh your personality, oh your appearance, it's you didn't travel enough. Oh, you didn't go to enough countries. That's pretty much what their insta fix is. Next time anybody who wants to comment about you going overseas needs to super chat you the cost of ticket round trip. Yeah, but you know what? If they sent me a super chat that covered that trip, I would not only would I go there, I wouldn't ban them. I wouldn't, get rid of them because the stuff they're doing is dangerous. They're trying to get you to spend unholy sums of money trying to meet random women in places that you've never been to before. You don't know their laws. You don't know what kind of restrictions they have, what kind of dangerous people live over there. I mean, what they're really doing is dangerous in a lot of ways, and unfortunately, a lot of people just don't have the capacity to understand why there's something wrong with it. That's why I said the undervaluing of men is one of the reasons why that romance stuff is as toxic and as unsustainable as it is. When you tell somebody that because of their gender, if they're a woman, they can just wait hand and foot for men to approach and be interested in them. But if you're a guy, you have just to get a date, that's insane. But they've been manipulated and brainwashed into participating in this garbage, in this complete. That's what happens when you're so desperate for a triangle. You will do. The hell would I look like traveling around the world to get a date? Like, what in the world? All these extreme solutions, they can go somewhere else with that useless, impractical advice. But remember, this isn't even the first time. Because what do I keep saying? Nothing is new anymore. It's a bunch of remakes. Or who goes to school can go there every single, because even after you finish going to work, you're tired, or if you finish going to school, you have to study guys at all to appeal. And God knows how long that's going to take. Oh, just get your money up. I swear, if you listen to these people, they will have you believing that. I remember laughing at the ones that were talking about you need people are not famous. So why do you need to be a well-known member of your, which we already said this before, fame is entirely subjective. There are people on YouTube who have 100,000 subs that you've never even heard of. Um, go platinum to get a date with Susie down the street. We were talking about this before, that if I still believed, that like talking to them would make a difference, it would be a self-parody where, like I wouldn't have learned anything, would still think, oh, if I just go out and ask out chicks and try hard, it'll make a difference. But at this point, when people are saying all this crazy stuff they want you to do, and we know that it not only does it not work, but that it's too insane to even be. She was lecturing me with any of them to begin with. Like seriously, I have not asked a woman on a date in 2 years because I know there's no point. I'm not, and well, I already gave off the numbers, like, you know, I'm on a dating website in 6 years, stuff like that. Like I said, doing all this crap just for somebody with a triangle to acknowledge you is not worth it to me. I wouldn't even do this stuff for a famous woman, let alone some random broad nobody ever heard of. Hey, at least if a famous one ignores you or barely responds, you actually believe her when she says she's busy. She's over there filming some movie or recording some album. You know what I mean? Like at least with them, they actually have a whole bunch of stuff that they do entirely plausible. They just been busy for the last few days. I said it's really funny to me that they act like chicks are, and then they're also all out of your league. So anytime you talk about getting turned down by some of them, people just assume they were too good for you without seeing what any of them look like, without knowing what they own. I mean, that's why I said it's all built around how can we make the men as miserable as possible. That's their only goal. Make them as miserable as possible. How can we destroy them? They don't care. They just sit there and they act stupid. All these expectations for one partner, I would hype the person making them expectations as the foil package. Oh wait, I would hope the person making the expectations are the full package. So, oh, they're not. They're not. You need to be rich to date some woman that lives in the box. You need to have muscles. Date a woman who's a shrimp noodle or overweight herself. They're workly and physically. So when people are telling you you have to be the specific homogenized thing to appeal to them, they can't guarantee that you're going to get back what you put in. But anyways, I got to get off of here because now, this person wants to, they're getting like testy, whatever. So I'll stream again next Saturday. I don't know what time because I don't know what the situation work related is going to be this week. Uh, so I appreciate all those who showed up. Thanks, Kotsky Merchant, King, Euro. I apologize. We had that one insane person show up, and like I said, if his tactics really work, why doesn't he just make a channel where he shows everybody the magic country you go to, where there's all these women that are so attracted to you? It's like so stupid.